Here's the scene. A Friday evening in October. You're standing in your own kitchen in Louisville. The counter's clean, really clean, because you spent 20 minutes wiping it down. There's a bottle of Cabernet breathing next to 2 candles. The good plates, the ones from the wedding registry that only come out twice a year. You made her favorite, pan-seared salmon, roasted asparagus, that lemon butter sauce she used to close her eyes for. She walks in 40 minutes late, sets her bag down right next to the plate you arranged. Doesn't look at it. Doesn't look at you. Picks up her phone, scrolls something, and says, "Oh, you cooked." Not "this looks amazing." Not "sorry I'm late." Just "oh, you cooked." Like you'd left a package on the porch she wasn't expecting. You sit down anyway. She picks at the salmon. Checks her phone 3 times in 11 minutes. You count, because you've started counting things like that. She pushes her plate forward and says she had a late lunch. Later that night, you reach for her. Not aggressive, not demanding. Just your hand on her waist, the way you've done for 9 years. She shifts away. Slow. Deliberate. Like she rehearsed it in the mirror. And then she says it. "Nathan, maybe we're just not compatible physically. It's nobody's fault. It's just how it is." She says it the way you'd tell a contractor you're going with a different bid. Clinical. Calm. Prepackaged. Then she rolls over, pulls the comforter up, and within 3 minutes her breathing's even. That was my kitchen. My wife. My Friday night. My name is Nathan Cole. And those 11 words changed everything. Not because of what she said, because of what I did next. I agreed. Vanessa and I met in Louisville 11 years ago. She was working at a boutique marketing firm downtown on Main Street. I was 2 years into building my catering company out of a rented kitchen on Bardstown Road. She walked in for a tasting we were doing for her client's event, tried the bourbon-glazed short ribs, looked me in the eye, and said, "If you can make this for 200 people, I'll get you booked through December." She did. I cooked. We started something. Sophie came along 3 years into the marriage. 6 years old now. Brown hair, Vanessa's eyes, my stubbornness. The kind of kid who asks you a question at breakfast and you're still thinking about the answer at lunch. For the first 7 years, it was good. Not perfect, no marriages, but it was real. Saturday mornings, she'd sit on the kitchen counter with her coffee while I tested new recipes. She'd taste everything. More salt. Too much time. Once she said, "This is the one," and I built my entire spring menu around it. I don't know exactly when it shifted, but I can tell you when I noticed. 6 months before that Friday, Vanessa started going to what she called alignment circles. Her friend Dominique Vargas ran them, a woman who'd left corporate PR to become some kind of wellness facilitator. The circles met on Wednesday nights at Dominique's place in the Highlands. Wine, candles, journaling, conversations about authentic living and energetic compatibility. Vanessa started coming home from those nights with new words. Energetic alignment. Emotional bandwidth. Somatic response. She'd drop them into normal conversations, like she was quoting from a textbook only she had read. I didn't think much of it. People find hobbies. People grow. I was happy she had something outside the restaurant and Sophie's school schedule. Then the temperature started dropping. Not all at once. Just degrees. She stopped sitting on the counter. Stopped tasting things. When I'd tell her about a new catering gig, she'd say, "That's great," without looking up. One night, I put Sophie to bed and came back to find Vanessa on the couch reading a book called The Feminine Compass. She'd dog-eared about 30 pages. "What's that about?" I asked. "You wouldn't get it," she said. Not mean. Just dismissive. Like I'd asked a child's question. I should have said something then. I didn't. I told myself everyone goes through phases. That she was finding herself. That it would pass. It didn't pass. It arrived. On that Friday night, with salmon going cold on the good plates. I lay there for an hour after she fell asleep. Stared at the ceiling. Not compatible physically. 9 years. A daughter. A life built meal by meal, room by room. And she diagnosed us like we were a failed pilot program. Saturday morning. She left early. Yoga, then brunch with Dominique. Kissed Sophie on the forehead. Walked past me like I was a coat rack. I sat in my truck in the driveway for 15 minutes. Engine off. Hands on the steering wheel. Couldn't move. Then I called Patrick Reeves, my best friend since culinary school, now running his own place on Frankfurt Avenue. I didn't tell him what she said. Just asked if he wanted to grab coffee. He heard something in my voice. Didn't push it. That afternoon, while Sophie was at a friend's house, I moved my things to the guest room. Quietly. My pillow, my phone charger, the book I'd been reading. When Vanessa came home, she stood in the doorway of our bedroom for a long time, looking at the empty nightstand on my side. She didn't ask why. Monday morning. Sophie's eating cereal. Vanessa comes down, and I'm already making lunches. Morning, I say. Morning. That's it. No good morning kiss. No hand on the shoulder. But here's the thing. I didn't reach for one either. For the first time in 9 years, I didn't try. Tuesday. She mentioned a big presentation at work. I said, good luck, and went back to my prep list. She stood there for a second, like she was waiting for more. There wasn't more. Wednesday. Alignment circle. She came back at 11. I was already asleep with the guest room door closed. Thursday. Sophie had a school play rehearsal. Vanessa asked if I could pick her up. I said sure. She paused. You're being very accommodating. You said we're not compatible, I said. I'm respecting that. She blinked, opened her mouth, closed it, walked upstairs. Friday. 1 week since the salmon. She suggested we watch a movie after Sophie went to bed. I said I had a new menu to plan. Went to my office. Closed the door. Here's what I wasn't doing, punishing her. I know how it sounds. But I want you to understand, I didn't have a strategy. I didn't have a plan. I was just empty. She'd told me my touch was unwanted, that our bodies didn't belong together. And something inside me listened. Not out of spite. Out of self-preservation. I stopped reaching because the rejection had become its own routine, and I didn't have the energy to keep feeding it. 2 weeks in. Saturday morning. I'm making pancakes for Sophie when Vanessa comes down in the dress she used to wear when we went to Proof on Market. Hair done. Perfume I hadn't smelled in months. I thought we could go to lunch, she said. Just us. Mom can watch Sophie. I've got a catering consult at 1, I said. But thanks. Her jaw tightened. A flicker. Then, you've been distant, Nathan. I looked at her. Really looked. I'm giving you what you asked for, Vanessa. Space. Compatibility on your terms. I didn't think that included Saturday lunches. That's not not compatible physically. Your words. I'm just not fighting them anymore. She went upstairs and closed the bedroom door. I heard the lock click. Now here's where I need to tell you about Dominique. Dominique Vargas had been Vanessa's friend for about 2 years. Met at a marketing event. Dominique was magnetic, the kind of woman who spoke softly but made everyone lean in. She'd left a 6-figure PR career to launch something called the Compass Method, a coaching framework for women who felt stuck in masculine energy relationships. I'd met her twice. Once at a dinner party where she told me I had protective energy, whatever that means. Once when she picked Vanessa up for a circle. She shook my hand and smiled like she knew something I didn't. 3 weeks after I moved to the guest room, Pat called. Nate, I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it. Pat's wife Diane worked with a woman named Leslie Harper who'd left her husband 8 months ago. Blindsided him. 14 years of marriage, gone in 3 months. Leslie told Diane the whole story. She'd been going to alignment circles. The facilitator, a woman named Dominique, had spent months convincing her that her husband's energy was blocking her evolution. She started using phrases like energetically incompatible. She pulled away. He chased harder. She pulled further. He broke. The incompatibility line, Pat said. Leslie used it too. Word for word. Maybe we're just not compatible physically. Dominique coached her to say it. I sat there. Phone against my ear. Kitchen dead quiet. How many? I asked. Diane knows of 3. Leslie, a woman named Brooke Tilson, and one more she won't name. All from the same circles. All said the same things to their husbands. All within 2 years. My hands were doing that thing. Shaking. Not from anger. From the realization that the sentence I'd been replaying for 3 weeks, the one I'd turned over in my head every night in that guest room, the one I tried to find truth in, wasn't even hers. It was a script. Stay with me here. Because what I did next, I'm still not sure if it was the right call. I wanted to confront her. Walk into the kitchen, lay it all out, watch her face crumble. But I didn't. Because confronting Vanessa would tip off Dominique that her method was exposed. And something told me I hadn't found everything yet. So I watched. And I waited. November. Vanessa's cycling got faster now that the withdrawal wasn't producing the response it was designed for. The playbook assumed the husband would chase. Pursue harder. Prove his devotion. That's what Leslie's husband did. That's what Brooke's husband did. I didn't. Monday, she left a note on my office desk. I miss talking to you. Sweet. Almost tender. I read it twice. My chest ached. Part of me wanted to walk into the bedroom and hold her and pretend none of it was happening. Tuesday, I was packing my gym bag when she appeared in the doorway, arms crossed. Since when do you go to the gym every night? Since I stopped having anything to do after 8. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Walked away. Wednesday, she came home from the circle and picked a fight about the electric bill. You leave every light on in this house. Cold, controlled, surgical. I said, I'll be more careful, and went back to reading. She stood there for 10 seconds waiting for the argument. It didn't come. Thursday morning, Sophie asked me at breakfast, Daddy, are you and Mommy still best friends? I put my fork down, looked at my daughter. Mommy and Daddy love you more than anything in the world, sophomore. But are you best friends? I didn't answer, because I couldn't lie to her, and I couldn't tell her the truth. Sophie went back to her cereal. I stared at the counter until my eyes burned. Friday, she suggested a weekend trip. Maybe we could drive down to Mammoth Cave. Sophie would love it. We haven't done a family thing in. I've got a booking Saturday and prep on Sunday. You always have a booking. You said we weren't compatible, Vanessa. I'm building a life around that fact. She flinched. Actually flinched. Like I'd thrown something. But I was sitting at the kitchen table with a coffee cup in my hand, and my voice hadn't risen above room temperature. The next week her tactics changed. Subtler now. She started wearing the perfume from our honeymoon, the one I'd once told her I could pick out of 100. Left her hair down the way I liked it. Started watching cooking shows in the living room when I was working in my office, volume just loud enough that I'd hear it through the wall. She was trying to pull me back in without words, because the words hadn't worked. I noticed all of it, felt every single signal, and I stayed in my office. Then came the Marsala. Friday, 3 weeks into November. Vanessa cooked dinner. My favorite, chicken marsala, the recipe I'd taught her on our second anniversary. Set the table. Candles. Wine. When I came home from the restaurant, she was standing in the kitchen looking almost exactly like the woman I married. I thought maybe we could eat together tonight, she said. Like we used to. And for one honest moment, I believed it. I believed she was coming back. That whatever Dominique had planted was wearing off. That my wife was standing in front of me, real and whole. We ate. She asked about the restaurant. She laughed at something I said. A real laugh, not the polite one. She touched my hand across the table. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it. Her expression shifted, just a fraction. She excused herself. 1 second. From the hallway, I heard her voice. Low. Urgent. No, I did exactly what you said. He's not responding the way he's supposed to. He's not pursuing. She was talking to Dominique. He moved to the guest room, Dominique. He said he's respecting my wishes. That wasn't the plan. I stood in my kitchen, alone, with the candles still burning and the marsala going cold on the good plates. And I understood. The dinner wasn't for me. The laugh wasn't real. The hand on mine wasn't love. It was the next chapter of a playbook, and I'd almost bought it. I blew out the candles, washed the dishes, went to the guest room, closed the door. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry. Because I was grieving something that might have died a long time ago, and I was only now finding the body. December. I hired a lawyer. Ruth Paxton. Pat recommended her. Not because I wanted a divorce. Because I wanted to understand my options before someone else decided them for me. Ruth was direct. Document everything. Don't leave the house. Don't get emotional in texts. Be the parent you've always been. I did all of that. Meanwhile, Vanessa's swings were getting shorter. She could go from sweet to ice in a single evening. One night, she'd suggest couples counseling. Even pulled up a therapist's website on her phone. Look, she specializes in communication. We could go Tuesday. Okay, I said. Tuesday came. No mention of it. I didn't bring it up either. Thursday morning, she said. Maybe we just need to accept that this is what it is. Same woman. For days apart. 2 completely different positions. And I realized she wasn't undecided. She was cycling through Dominique's phases like a program running on schedule. The pattern was obvious now that I could see the strings. Every approach came after a Wednesday circle. Every retreat came after a phone call with Dominique. She wasn't making decisions. She was following instructions. And the instructions kept changing. 2 days before Christmas, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Cole? My name is Janet Pemberton. I'm Dominique Vargas's ex-mother-in-law. She talked for 26 minutes. I didn't interrupt once. Dominique's own marriage had ended 3 years ago. Her husband, Janet's son, David, had been a good man. Quiet. devoted. Dominique started her coaching practice while still married. The more women she coached to reclaim their power, the more she applied the same methods to her own relationship. Same language, same withdrawal framework, same incompatibility script. David fought for 2 years. Counseling, letters, everything. Dominique left anyway. Started the Compass method 6 months after the divorce was final. She couldn't save her own marriage, Janet said, her voice breaking. So she convinced herself that dismantling yours was empowerment. The twist wasn't that Dominique was malicious. It was worse. She was a broken woman who'd turned her own failure into a philosophy and was selling it to wives who trusted her. Vanessa wasn't the villain in this story. She was a client following a program designed by someone who'd already burned her own house down. That didn't make it hurt less, but it changed what I was looking at. January 4th, Saturday. Sophie was at Vanessa's mother Linda's house. I asked Vanessa to sit down. She looked nervous. She'd been nervous a lot lately. The circles had paused after the holidays because Dominique was on retreat. Without the weekly reinforcement, Vanessa had been quieter, softer, more like herself, also more lost. I know about Dominique, I said. She went still. I know about the script. The incompatibility line. I know she used it on Leslie Harper, on Brooke Tilson, on her own husband before any of you. Her face did something I hadn't seen in months. It crumpled. Not the strategic tears. Not the performance. Real collapse. The kind where your mouth opens and nothing comes out. Nathan, you told me we weren't compatible physically. Those weren't your words. They were hers. You memorized them like a line from a play and delivered them in our bed on a Friday night after I cooked you dinner. She was shaking. I didn't. It wasn't. She said it would help us. That if you really loved me, you'd fight harder. That your reaction would tell me everything I needed to know. And what did my reaction tell you? That you believed me. Her voice cracked. That you actually thought I meant it. Did you? The longest silence of our marriage. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know what's mine and what's hers anymore. I've been saying things for 6 months and I can't tell which thoughts belong to me. That's the thing about manipulation. It doesn't just fool the target. It fools the source too. I sat across from her. Not touching. Not moving toward her. Not leaving. I need you to hear something, I said. I didn't stop reaching for you because I stopped loving you. I stopped because you told me my touch was incompatible with who you are. And I respected you enough to believe it. She covered her face with both hands. You wanted me to chase, I said. To prove something by refusing to accept what you said. But I wasn't going to audition for a role I'd already earned. She tried one more thing. The last card. It wasn't all Dominique. Some of it was real. Some of it. Nathan, I was unhappy. Not because of you. Because I lost myself somewhere, and she was the only one offering a map. And did the map lead you anywhere good? She looked around the kitchen. At the empty chairs. At the guest room, door down the hall. At 9 years of a life, she'd let a stranger redesign. No, she said. Quiet. It led me here. That was the first honest thing she'd said in 6 months. And it hit harder than anything that came before it. Because she wasn't defending herself anymore. She was just standing in the wreck. Her mother Linda called that evening. She'd sensed something was wrong for months. She told Vanessa, not me, that Dominique had poisoned what was good. That she'd watched her daughter turn into a stranger. That man cooked for you every Friday for 9 years, Linda said. And you made him sleep in the guest room because a woman who destroyed her own family told you he wasn't enough. I found Vanessa sitting on the kitchen floor an hour later. Not crying anymore. Just sitting. Staring at the tile. I almost lost you, she said. Almost, I said. I won't tell you we fixed it overnight. That's not how it works. Vanessa cut off Dominique completely. Deleted the number. Left the group chat. Dominique sent 4 texts that first week, each more manipulative than the last. Vanessa showed me every one without opening them first. That was the first time I believed she was choosing us over the script. We started counseling. Real counseling. Dr. Alvarez on Lexington Road. Not alignment circles. Not compass methods. Just 2 people sitting in a room trying to figure out if there was still something worth finding between who they'd been and who they'd become. It was slow. One session, she heard how that line had played on repeat in my head every night in the guest room. 11 words. Over and over, in the dark. She couldn't speak for the rest of the hour. February. I moved back to the bedroom. Not because everything was healed. Because she asked, and the asking was real. After months of scripts, I'd become fluent in the difference between a line and a voice. Sophie noticed. Daddy's in the big bed again. She jumped between us on a Saturday morning, and Vanessa caught my eye over our daughter's head. Her eyes were wet, not from sadness, from the specific grief of understanding how close you come to losing what you stopped seeing. We're still in it. I won't pretend there aren't nights I hear those 11 words, where I lie next to her and wonder which thoughts are hers and which are echoes from a Wednesday circle. You don't unhear something like that. You just learn to sleep in the same house with it. But last Saturday, she sat on the kitchen counter with her coffee while I worked on a new spring menu. I handed her a spoon. She tasted the sauce, tilted her head, and said, "More salt." I almost dropped the spoon. She told me we weren't compatible. Turns out she was right, just not the way she meant it. She needed someone who'd chase. I needed someone who'd stay. We're still figuring out if those two things can live under the same roof. Some mornings, over coffee, I think they can. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.